Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of the Standing Room Only podcast, episode number 46. I am Goose. As always, I am here with Healy. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in, for joining in. If it's your first time, welcome. We are the Standing Room Only podcast. We are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. Just remember, it is important that you do hit the download button, leave a review, rating. The download is important to us because that is how we see our analytics. That's how we see our viewers. We are on social media. We are the SR Only Pod. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram. You could follow our personal accounts. I'm iGoose with 4 O's. I am on Twitter and Instagram. And then we have Healy as well.
You can follow me at the Healy6, Twitter and Instagram. A lot to talk about this week.
Yeah. We're in for a treat this week. We have from baseball, the playoffs are in full effect. Today is day 2 and teams already clinched. We have football. Week 4 already is almost here. We have a lot to talk about there. And then basketball, the final started tonight for us. So
yeah.
for those listening in, when we say tonight, for you guys, it is last night. But let's get the ball rolling. Let's get started with the MLB. Healy, lead it off.
All right. So, end of day number 2. We're going to go over some of the stuff that has happened the past couple of days. And then we're also going to get like a little bit of a flashback and talk about what we predicted early on in this season and what probably went wrong for these teams. We did division winners, and we only did 2 wild card winners because we thought it was going to be a normal playoff format when the season started. We also picked MVPs and Cy Young, so those aren't going to be announced for a little bit, but wanted to go over those seasons that we predicted for these guys and see like if they do have a chance or not. One or two guys we picked might have a chance. The other guys kind of blundered on, but
yeah.
After day number 2, the National League started up today. We saw the Reds and Braves participate in a 13-inning thriller. Only 1 run was scored. The Reds left so many guys on base. They also were terrible at base running. There was like 2 outs in an inning, and 1 guy got caught off the base. I don't know how you do that. Another play. There was runners first and third, I believe, and like someone else got caught off of a base on like a ground ball. It was just terrible. But Braves ended up winning in 13 innings. The Cubs ended up losing 5-1 today. Kyle Hendricks pitched pretty well until like his final inning in the game, which he allowed 3 runs. He was running low on gas. David Ross failed to pull Kyle Hendricks. I'm not necessarily going to put the blame on him. He was only at like 100 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Hendricks was kind of dealing, so maybe who knows? You're going to criticize him no matter what. If he took him out and he allowed a couple runs, would have been criticized. The Marlins, though, they're pitching Sixto Sanchez tomorrow. I am scared as a Cubs fan. The Cubs bats, I said last week's podcast, the Cubs are either going to win 2 games in a row or lose 2 games in a row. They aren't consistent. They're either hot or they're not, and it appears that their bats are non-existent.
Yeah. 1 run, as I was saying to you earlier, Healy, 1 run in today's baseball is not going to do it. It's not going to do it. Kyle Hendricks, you know what? Hats off to him because I actually was sitting there watching the game and he was pitching a great game. Like you said, he was barely at 100 or 102 pitches when he finally gave up the mistake pitch, the home run. Obviously, they took him out. Jeffers came in. Jeffers had given up another home run to Aguilar, I believe. And at that point, it was just downhill from there. 1 run is not going to do it. I don't care if you're facing the Marlins or any of these last wild card seeded teams to make it. And I believe the Cubs' only run was a home run by Ian Happ. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, it was Ian Happ. He had 2 of their 4 hits today.
Yeah, that's not going to do it. Tomorrow is going to be tough. They do have Yu Darvish going for the Cubs, which I mean definitely has been one of the hotter pitchers this season, and I think he definitely gives them a big chance. If I'm not mistaken, all 3 games, are they all in Chicago? Is that
Yep.
how it's working? So
3 days in a row, all in Chicago.
it all depends. Obviously the weather is going to play a factor. The Windy City was living up to its name. One of the home runs that got out was simply because it was hit high enough in the wind, and the wind dragged it out. That was Jesus Aguilar hit that, and he was able to muscle it out, and plus the wind. So uh, it's tough. I still think the Cubs do have a chance in this, even though the Marlins are their offense is pretty solid, and as you mentioned, their pitcher going tomorrow. So I still like their chances. Tomorrow is going to be a 1 o'clock start, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken,
1
Central Time.
Eastern.
1 Eastern. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Well, oh, you're right. One Central.
it is 1 Central.
There isn't as many games tomorrow, so they're spaced out a little bit more. But yeah, 1 Central tomorrow. Well, we'll see. 6-0 throws, 100 miles per hour. The Marlins, they know how to hit when they need to. The Cubs, they just couldn't put the ball in the air. That's all they had to do today. Instead, they're striking out.
Yep.
The Cardinals beat the Padres 7-3 or 7-4. Good game for the Cardinals. It started off hot. Goldschmidt hit a home run. Yadier Molina hit a home run. It's tough when you have Mike Clevenger, who you traded for, out for the series.
Yeah.
Dinelson Lamet, he's out for the series. And you have to rely on like Chris Paddock and a couple other guys. This was a must-win game today because I don't know how the rest of they have Zach Davies, who's okay, but not at the caliber that Lamet and Clevenger were. And then Brewers and Dodgers are going to be playing while we're recording. In the American League, the Astros, they've already won their series. They're moving on to the division series. They won 2 games over the Twins. The Twins, man, 18 straight playoff losses.
It's a curse. It's a curse. They have yet to win. They don't even win games. It's not series. This is 18 straight games that they have lost. I couldn't even tell you when was the last time they even won a playoff series or a playoff game.
It's been like 16 years or something.
Yeah, it had to be maybe, was it like Torrey Hunter days, And so they lost. And you know what? Houston being the 6th-seeded team, obviously we talked about it as part of a prediction that we said Houston is a good team. Yes, they cheated. No, we don't like them at all. Do we wish they lose? Yes. Do we wish they lose for a while? Yes. But realistically, are we going to bet against Houston in series like this? Probably not. They are still a good team, and they proved it. They won 3-1 today. Correa, I'm pretty sure, had a good series. And then, with the Twins, I just have to say, as a Sox fan, I'm glad it was the Twins that ended up taking that, because I'd rather the Sox have to go to Game 3 against Oakland, which is still scary, versus having to face Houston in this situation. So Houston, obviously, it was a good game overall today. Houston scored their 2 runs in the final 3 innings. So
yeah, and yesterday in the Twins game, it was like 1-1 in the 9th, and the Twins pretty much lost because Jorge Polanco had an error at shortstop. Could not get the ball over to second, ended up deciding the game. Unfortunately, they lost. So the last game they won was in 2004 against the Yankees, and they lost that series 3-1.
Wow.
They won 1 game, and then the year before that, they played the Yankees, lost 3-1 again. And they made the ALCS the year prior. But the Twins, they just cannot catch a break. The Tampa Bay Rays, they also advanced to the ALDS. The best record in baseball, or I think it was them. No, the Dodgers had 43 wins. The best record in the American League. They won both games against the Blue Jays, as they should. They've been playing against the Blue Jays all season. Their team is just simply better than the Blue Jays. Blue Jays put together a good squad to compete towards the end, but they might have had a good chance maybe against the Twins, maybe against the White Sox, maybe against the A's, but you cannot match up with the Rays. The team, they probably played each other like 10 times or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the White Sox, they're tied 1-1. The A's decided to try and break the curse yesterday. The left-handed pitcher. White Sox were 14-0 against left-handed pitchers this year, and they made it 15-0 yesterday against Luzardo. Today, the White Sox threw out a left-hander, Dallas Keuchel, and they lost 5-3. So it's going to Game 3 tomorrow. Who's the starters?
The last time I checked, they did not announce who the actual starters are going to be because I almost said the Packers. The White Sox ended up throwing in Dylan Cease late in the game today.
Oh.
Yeah, they did end up throwing him in for tomorrow's game. I don't
Are they going to go
see
Ronaldo Lopez?
I don't see where it's announced yet.
Gio Gonzalez maybe could start off the game.
Maybe they end up going that route. They pitch some guys for 2-3 innings at a time. It's obviously a must win in a 3-game series with this first round. So we'll see. I feel like, I mean, at this point, who else can you start? There is Ronaldo Lopez. Yeah, I feel like it's going to be Ronaldo Lopez.
I don't think anyone else is in there. But Game 3 tomorrow, they are going to be scheduled to play at 3:10 Eastern time. So it's going to be going on same time as the Cubs. That's great to see. Both Chicago teams are playing similar times.
Yeah, it actually. So I believe Dane Dunning might get the start tomorrow.
Ooh, the rookie.
Yeah, he's actually had a pretty solid year. They compared his numbers to Dylan Cease. His numbers look a little bit better, even though Dylan Cease can hit pretty much 100 or 99 on most days. So we'll see. He's a right-handed pitcher. Oakland actually hits the lefties better, just like the White Sox do. Unfortunately, there was an early error for the White Sox that caused a couple of different runs to come in for the first 2 runs for Oakland. It was all based on an error. And from that point, it was just downhill from there. The bats did come alive, though. As a Sox fan, I still am very confident because in this game, we saw Jose Abreu had some clutch hits. Besides his last at-bat with the bases loaded, tying run was on second base. Leading run was on first. Unfortunately, there was not – it was – he didn't look at any pitches. First pitch, swung, ground out to the second baseman. But you know what? You got to go like his aggressiveness because, I mean, you want guys up there swinging the bat, especially with how hot they have been. Tim Anderson had a 3-hit day. He has been red hot. Yasmani Grandal hit another home run today. Luis Robert did okay. One guy that they are missing is Eloy Jimenez, who has been hurt. They're saying he may end up playing tomorrow. He's questionable. We will see. Hopefully he does play because Leury Garcia is not it. I know Adam Engel hit a home run I believe was it today's game?
Yesterday.
Yesterday's game, he hit a home run.
And a double.
Yeah, so I'm okay with him there. It's just you have guys like Nomar Mazara forcing to come in and play, Leury Garcia. We need our bats. We need Eloy Jimenez, who ended up being hot towards the end of the season. I think he ended up batting like a 294 to finish off the season. So we're definitely going to need him in there. Hopefully he can play because, I mean, besides, Tim Anderson and some of these other guys, Yohan Moncada went 0 for 4 today, and you hate to see that from a guy like him.
Mm-hmm. And then the Yankees-Indians are going on right now. Yankees demolished the Indians yesterday, 12-3. Shane Bieber pitched. Wasn't fun. Garrett Cole looked lights out. Shane Bieber, I heard that the Yankees on like curveballs and stuff, they only swung like 14 of like 32 times or something on like a certain pitch, which was the lowest amount of during the year. Which Shane Bieber, he's projected to win Cy Young. Got rocked against the Yankees. Not a good sign. The Indians were up 4-1 in this game, maybe even 4-0. So the Indians, they started off the game 4 runs right in the first inning. The game got delayed. They came back out, and now the Yankees are up 6-4 Giancarlo Stanton hit a home run. Gio Urshela hit a grand slam to put him up 5-4, and Stanton just had a sacrifice fly to make it 6-4. So if this holds, the Yankees are going to advance as well, and 3 of the 4 American League Series are going to end after 2 games. As a Cubs fan, I don't like seeing that. I don't like seeing these games end after two games. That's just how the playoffs are. Luckily, well, the Astros, they made the playoffs as a losing record team, and they won a series. First time in MLB history. First or last time it'll probably ever happen, unless it's playoff format 6th round. I hope not. Fun for this year, but next year, full season can't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, so and then obviously with the NL, I believe yesterday was all AL games, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. So yeah, it's gonna come down to if the Yankees pull this off. Like you said, it's gonna come down to the White Sox in Oakland. Obviously, we'll know the winners there. The NL's games we'll see wrap up tomorrow. If not, then I believe it's gonna be on Friday. Should be the last game. So we'll by the next podcast, next week's episode, we'll have already a couple of games into the next series. So I'm excited for tomorrow. Tomorrow's a big day for Chicago. The Cubs, the Sox must win games, facing elimination. The Cubs, more specifically, have to win the next 2 games, which again, you never know with their pitching. Like I said, I like you, Darvish, and all it takes is one more guy on that team to just step it up. That offense has been very tough to watch for at least the better part of this year, minus a couple of guys. So
yeah, if the Yankees win tomorrow or tonight, they're the 7 o'clock slot tomorrow. I wonder what team's going to take that. I think it's either going to be the Braves and Reds, or they move the Cubs. Because as you've seen today and tomorrow, the Yankees and Dodgers both had primetime slots due to their location and fan base. They aren't just going to leave that 7 o'clock spot open. I think they're going to move a game lower in the day. So maybe not the Cubs Marlins because it's on ABC. Maybe it would be the Braves Reds. They're currently slated at 11 o'clock Central Time again tomorrow.
Yeah, that was a very early game. I didn't realize that the game started at 11 today, at least Central Time. I had a FanDuel lineup that I didn't realize I had an expiration of 11 a.m. for that, so I'm a little salty. But yeah, so that'd be kind of cool if they do move that Cincinnati Atlanta game. I'd love to catch that game, especially being that Atlanta is one of my favorites to go pretty far. At least to compete with the Dodgers this year in the playoffs. Speaking of which, the Dodgers have taken a 1-0 lead in the bottom of the first on a walk. Will Smith walked. Mookie Betts scored. The bases were loaded. So they already have a 1-0 lead in the first inning. So
oh, man. I think Brent Suter is starting for the Brewers today.
Yep.
So they went with a lefty starter. He doesn't normally start. This is obviously an opener strategy because the Dodgers, they have Betts, who doesn't really hit lefties well. They have Corey Seager in the lineup, Max Muncy, Bellinger, Edwin Rios, who's a lefty. They wanted to get those guys in so that when they switch to a righty, they're going to take out like Jock Peterson, Matt Beatty. They have Kybert Ruiz on the bench, who's a switch hitter, but the Dodgers, they smoke right-handed pitching with all the lefties they have. It's not good. I think AJ Pollock's up. He hits lefties very well. But speaking of baseball, I thought it'd be cool to bring up our predictions from earlier in the year. The regular season's now over. We predicted our division winners, our wild card teams, and then we had our World Series matchup, and AL and NL MVPs and Cy Youngs. So we'll start off with the American League. We both picked, you picked the Yankees to win the East. I picked the Rays. I got that one right. I believe in the podcast, I was like, they're just built. They're built for this season. They proved that they were. They made the moves. Yankees, not a bad pick. They ended up making the playoffs anyways. The AL Central, you had the White Sox winning the division. They got so close to doing that.
Any other division.
So close. Unfortunately, that last week kind of cost them. And then the AL West, or I had the Twins. I felt like that was a safe pick. They ended up barely winning the division. So, like, it didn't matter which one of the three you picked. They all ended up with a good record. I picked the Twins, though. And then for the AL West, we were both good with the Astros, who ended up with a below 500 record. The A's, they ended up winning the division. So, the wild card teams, you had the Twins and the Rays. Not bad picks. They both made the playoffs, both division winners. I had the Yankees and White Sox. Technically, the Indians, I think, would have been the best pick. I think it was Yankees, Indians. Or let's actually take a look at the standings.
Yeah, Indians were the 4th seed. The Yankees are the 5th seed.
If this was the actual playoffs with 5 teams, the White Sox and Indians would have made the playoffs over the Yankees. Yankees would have missed. So, yeah, the White Sox and Cleveland, both good. None of us picked the Indians. We thought they were going to have a little bit of a down year. Shane Bieber picked it up. Mike Clevenger was good. They had Zach Plesac. It didn't matter who they threw out there to start. They were good. For the NL teams, both picked the Braves. We all picked the Braves, Reds, and Dodgers to make the playoffs. In the wild card, you picked the Cubs and the Nationals. Cubs won the division, so that was a good pick there. Nationals didn't do so hot. I was kind of in a similar boat. I had the Cardinals. They wouldn't have made the playoffs in the current format or in that format. And then I picked the Diamondbacks, who were one of the worst teams in baseball. Not a good look. And then the World Series, we both had Yankees, Dodgers. In the podcast, I said the Yankees, the Rays, even though they're going to win the division, the Yankees are too good. They're going to make the World Series. Could happen. My prophecy could be right, but Yankees, Dodgers, they just seem to be the best teams. Award winners, you had Mike Trout in the AL MVP. I had Shohei Ohtani. Trout, good pick. He's up there. I don't think he's going to win it, though. But he had a pretty solid season. Ohtani, we all know what happened with him. Not the best move. Cy Young, you had Garrett Cole. Not a bad pick. Shane Bieber, I think, is just unanimous. Triple Crown winner. Unanimous there. I had Charlie Morton. I don't even remember seeing his name being mentioned this year. He pitched 9 games. 2-2 record, 4.74 ERA. He was just okay this year. Nothing too spectacular. In the National League, we both picked Mookie Betts to win the MVP. He's going to end up top 5 at least. Depends on what people vote. All these guys are super close, but Mookie Betts, he had a fantastic year. And then we both had Walker Buehler as well. Didn't even talk to each other about our picks, but when we made them, both had Mookie Betts, both had Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler had 8 starts, 1-0 record. He had a 3.44 ERA. I said on the podcast, I was like, I know wins somewhat influences it. He's on the Dodgers. He has to get a bunch of wins. He only ended up with 1.
1 win.
30. He had 36 innings pitched in 8 starts, which isn't a lot.
That's not a lot at all. It's less
than 5.
Just under 5. Yeah, that's just over between 4 and 5. So not the best outings for him. His ERA wasn't bad, 3.44. Could have been better. But with that super stacked offense, which they are now up 2-0 on Milwaukee due to another walked in run. But yeah, Walker Buehler definitely had the potential, especially with the offense, because of all the wins we thought he was going to get. To be fair, he had no losses.
Okay. Yeah, he didn't have any, but you had the Cubs. I did not have the Cubs doing anything. I thought they were going to finish 3rd place. They ended up winning the division. They won the division by 3 games, all thanks to their 13-3 start. And the Yankees Indians right now, I think they tied it up. Jose Ramirez, potential AL MVP. He got a double, tied it up 6-6, bottom 5. That's going to be a fun game to watch.
Oh man.
I have it on in the background. I also have the NBA Finals on in the background. But our pick, World Series, Yankees Dodgers, I'm still very confident in it. I believe you are as well.
Absolutely. I can tell you that depending on what happens tomorrow, I love my White Sox. I love the offense. I just don't think that they have it yet. And by it, I mean their pitching isn't complete. It's not a complete rotation. They could get in with their offense. Good offense to me trumps a good defense, good pitching. But I feel like with the Yankees, how stacked they are on both sides of the baseball, I feel like they are still the favorite. And then, of course, with the Dodgers, Atlanta could very well be the other team to up. I don't want to say upset because I feel like they're just as good, but technically it would be an upset if they do end up taking the NL crown, going to the World Series. But again, the same thing with the Dodgers, both sides of the ball, pitching, their fielding is pretty damn good. And of course, their bats. They have Mookie Betts, they have Bellinger, they have a bunch of studs. So I'm still confident with Yankees, Dodgers, World Series. That may end up being a better series than we could imagine. I could imagine that being actually a 6 or a 7 game series.
Mm-hmm. The Yankees, they have to get out of Cleveland though. That's not
They
a.
do.
I thought they're gonna win this. Unfortunately, they are not. It's a tie game. One runner on third, 0 outs. Carlos Santana's up. Easily score him right here. We'll have to see though. But maybe next week we're talking about how the Yankees don't make it, and we eat our own words about how we're both confident. But I feel like the Yankees, the Bronx Bombers, they will pull it off. A lot of baseball.
Yeah.
Next week should be a lot better. This week it's just 3-game series. Anything can go it can go anywhere, and we should get better matchups next week too. Personally, the American League, every single matchup was fun to watch. In the National League, I think there's a couple matchups that are just okay. The Cubs Marlins were one of them. Not anymore. That's a matchup you have to watch just because the Cubs are down. But like Dodgers Brewers, that's not a matchup I want to watch. Even as a Cubs fan, not a matchup I really want to watch. Devin Williams went down. They don't have Corbin Burns. It just wasn't too great. And then the Padres Cardinals. Like the Cardinals, they're a solid team. Padres, the team to watch. But in this first round, Padres don't have their pitchers. Cardinals, they're just okay to watch from a standpoint. Unless you're a Cardinals fan, then they're great to watch. But from an average fan, the Cardinals don't really have that group that you'd want to watch.
Not recent, not like this year's Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
Previous year's Cardinals, definitely. It's just one of those franchises that just knows how to win games. And of course, let's not forget the extra seeds. This first round is like it's a play-in, and it's a little unfortunate because there's teams like the Dodgers or like the Yankees, for instance, who could end up losing the series to Cleveland in 3 games, when realistically sometimes you need at least a 5-game series for these teams to get hot and to stay hot. So again, we'll see what happens. I personally do believe that it's inevitable. The next round of playoffs, it's a 5-game series. You'll have better matchups overall. St. Louis, they're 1 win away from taking over the Padres in that series, and I thought the Padres were definitely going to overpower St. Louis. Not lose by 3 runs the way they did or give up 7 runs. I thought for sure they'd be able to match them offensively. So it's exciting. It's still exciting nonetheless. That Dodgers Milwaukee series, I don't expect much. I'd be surprised if Milwaukee scores more than 4 runs in the series. So
yeah, especially because Christian Yelich, he was just okay this year, and I don't see them scoring a lot.
yeah,
We'll have to see though. But that's gonna do it for baseball today. We're gonna move over to another good segment right now, the NBA Finals.
Oh yeah.
Lakers, Heat, Game 1 happening right now, and LeBron, Anthony Davis, and co. They are looking so good.
Stellar.
They were down early in the game. They're down like 13 points, but it's the NBA Finals. The Lakers, they're a very good team. They could go down early in the game. That's basketball. It's a game of runs, and early in the game doesn't really matter. They're currently up 22 points.
Yeah.
In the third.
The Lakers are too overpowering. I love Miami, and I do believe that this will be a closer series. I still have the Lakers taking it in at least 5 games, maybe 6. I'll give Miami 2 games simply because they have that tough, gritty defense, but no home court advantage. As Healy has said before, depth of perception is completely different. They're playing in a gym practically. So Anthony Davis has been unstoppable in the paint, inside, outside. He's on track for almost a triple-double in this game. If he's doing that, you add LeBron James, who's also on track for a triple-double. The supporting cast, they do their job. You don't expect a lot from Danny Green, KCP, which is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Dwight Howard, any of those guys. You don't expect a lot from, but just enough to fill in. Versus Miami, you need it from Jimmy Butler. You need him defensively too. You need Bam Adebayo to do better than what he's doing. He's 7-3 right now, 7 points, 3 boards. Tyler Hero, who's been phenomenal this playoffs, but more specifically against the Celtics. He was lights out for the last couple of games. He only has 8 points in this game. He's shooting 3 of 11. He is completely cold. The rest of that team is pretty damn cold right now. Lakers, they're going to take this one with ease. Again, being up 22, 24 points at this point. I mark it up. They're going to take game 1 here, and Miami has to play their best basketball in order to even keep it remotely close. Lakers, LeBron only has 13 points. He can end up with only 20 points, and they can still end up winning by 20 points. So the Lakers, I just personally think, have too many weapons. And they, their bench is not bad. They have Kuzma, they have Rondo, they have Caruso. Kuzma is always a sleeper. Any given day, he can either give you 5 points or he can give you 25 points. You just never know what you're going to get from Kuzma. And that's why I love the fact that he does come off the bench and he does log the minutes. Even from their center position, Dwight Howard, who has done absolutely nothing in this game. You never know what type of game he's going to have, or if they check in JaVale McGee, who has yet to play. And that's something to keep in mind too. Dwight Howard's played 10 minutes in this game, and they have no other centers that have actually played. They've moved Davis up. They moved LeBron up. They've played Danny Green, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope all on the court at the same time, along with either Rajon or Kuzma. So they're playing a pretty big lineup to keep up with Miami. The downside with Miami is Bam Adebayo is their center, and I mean, he's only a 6'9" center. Great guy. He's a good center, but he's almost like that Draymond Green factor. It's like you put someone bigger up against him who knows how to use their body, he's going to be ineffective.
Yeah, and I really, before we started recording the podcast, before even the game tonight, I really wanted to give Miami 6 games. Like, they would last 6 games. I think the Lakers will win in 5 max. Not minimum. You said 5 minimum. I'm saying 5 max.
Yeah. I'm trying to give Miami 1 game, maybe 2. Maybe 2. It has to be like Hero has to shoot lights out and Duncan Robinson has to shoot lights out. Those are your best 3-point shooters, and they're doing jack shit today. So
I would not be surprised if they sweep this team. You talked about Bam. Bam was a fantastic player, Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The best player on the court is Anthony Davis. He is a monster. He's taller than Bam. He knows what he's doing, and no one on the Heat can guard him. I can't even believe that we got to say that Anthony, no disrespect to LeBron, but you have LeBron in the finals, and he's not even the best player on his team right now.
He doesn't have to be. This is almost, I don't want to say it's a passing of the torch, but it's been inevitable at this point in time in LeBron's career. You're going to start to see somebody else finally do it instead of LeBron, because we know LeBron's finals numbers are ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
They're ridiculous. He's had to carry teams in series where they lost in 5 games, 6 games, sometimes 7 games, and he's put up crazy numbers. With this team, Anthony Davis, I'm not saying he's the best player on the team, but right now, if you have to have a sure pick, it's Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
He's been doing this for so long. Kid from Chicago. He's been dominating the league ever since he was with New Orleans, and this is it. This is his time to take over the league. He's been the top dog at his position for the past few years, and now he's just going to excel now that he'll have a title. He should have been Defensive Player of the Year, in my opinion, this year. It's all right. That went to Giannis. That's 1-2 right there. LeBron, very efficient, shooting 50%, 2 of 2 from 3. Could potentially end up with a triple-double, and then add in, Anthony Davis in the mix with a couple of blocks. I mean, they just do everything perfect. This is a team where you would think they've been together for a while. They haven't, but they have 2 excellent players that aren't just great players, but they're excellent leaders, and it shows.
Mm-hmm. And like going back to the comment I made, if Anthony Davis wasn't here, LeBron would be putting up insane numbers. He's not putting up these numbers just because he's getting worse. It's because he doesn't need to.
He doesn't need to. For a change, LeBron can coast a little bit easier. I know a lot of people say, well, he got carried by Dwayne Wade. He got carried by Chris Bosh with that Miami run. He got carried by Kyrie. Kyrie was the reason why they beat the Warriors, because of his 3. But people seem to forget LeBron's dominating performances, his triple doubles, his 40-point games, his chase down blocks to save games. A lot of people love to hate on LeBron. I don't understand how the haters haven't been silenced yet. Like I've told you, Healy, women lie, men lie, numbers don't lie. The hate has to stop on LeBron, and finally he has a chance to just coast a little bit. He still has to perform. He can't just take the back seat and have an inefficient game. He still has to play efficiently. He still has to facilitate the game. So again, like you said, if Anthony Davis wasn't there, who knows if the Lakers would even be there in the first place, but you bet your ass LeBron would definitely be at 25, 30 points in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So
is the schedule still every other day? I would think so.
Yeah, actually, for the upcoming schedule. So obviously
Friday,
they're playing
Sunday,
right now.
Tuesday. Oh, next week, if they go to a game
5.
Game 5, that's when it would be 3 days. Friday night game, but I don't even know if he'll make it there.
We'll see. We'll see. It all depends. I mean, we've seen Jimmy Butler take over some games defensively where he shut some guys down. And that's the thing about Miami. That's why I want to give them a game, because I know everybody was on the Milwaukee Bucks train and loved their defense and that plus minus, but Miami's gritty defense, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, those 2 right there are some of the toughest SOBs you're going to get on the court. And if I feel like anybody out of the East could take at least a game, it's Miami. But again, it all comes down to their offense, that 3-point game, that they thrive off of that. And, they did very, very well against an excellent Boston team. That was actually a very fun series to watch. It's different when the East goes up against the West. It's boys amongst men,
We'll see next week, though, if we're still talking about the NBA Finals being on. I just don't see the Heat having, the Lakers could have a very bad game. I just don't see them having a guy that takes over. that matches like a LeBron or Anthony Davis style. They don't have one guy. Jimmy Butler's there, but they don't have a guy close to either one of those two guys' levels, you know.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. Uh, yeah, the game, I mean, halfway through the third quarter and it's already a 32-point lead. Um, yeah, I might even retract my statement and say 4 games at this point, but like I said, never know. I'm gonna give Miami 1 game.
Okay. So, yeah, next week we'll talk about the finals. I'm probably going to watch every single game. You might as well. If you're not watching LeBron, you're really going to miss out at the end of his career. I did not watch enough of Kobe. I regret it a lot. Never even saw him in person. I definitely need to see LeBron in person one more time, at least. Especially when he's performing at the level he's at.
You've
Well,
seen LeBron play in
yeah.
person?
Yeah. So 2003, I saw him his rookie year. I remember my dad telling me all about him. And at that point, he was actually my favorite player. I
Hmm.
liked him a lot. I had his jersey. I had a Cleveland basketball. I rooted for Cleveland. Cleveland was like the team I went for. And then as soon as he went to Miami, I'm like, all right, D Rose and the Bulls, repping Chicago, because I hated that decision. But
Yeah,
yeah,
a
I've
lot
seen
of
him
people did.
before.
Yeah, LeBron was definitely I remember '03 like it was yesterday. That just ESPN hyped him up. They followed him through his high school, through his run there at the end and him making his jump, his leap into the NBA. I was fascinated by his athleticism. I was a huge fan and have yet to see him play. Assuming we have made strides in the whole COVID situation and we have a chance to go to games next year, Healy. If for some reason the Lakers are going to be in Chicago, let's go see it because we don't know how many years we're going to get left of LeBron. I know a lot of people that hate on LeBron. Years to come, they're going to be like, well, he was one of the greatest players to do it. It
Mm-hmm.
always happens. But the regret I have for not being able to see Kobe play, I had the chance to see Kobe, but man, those ticket prices, see Chicago, as soon as they are even a 500 team, their ticket prices are through the roof because their fan base at Chicago, besides the past couple of years hasn't been so hot, but the tickets I remember just for like 300 level was like almost 200. And I was like, well, maybe it's not worth it. I was younger at the time. I was like, yeah, I don't know. Of course, I regret it. This time I told myself, for as much I ride on the LeBron bandwagon, I am not letting myself go without seeing him play at least 1 game, because even if you go see him at 36 years old, he's got to be electrifying. He's got to put up a good stat line. He'll throw it down a couple of times. So we just don't know how many more years we're gonna get out of LeBron James. Hopefully a few more. Hopefully we get to see LeBron and Bronny play against each other one day,
Mm-hmm. Or team up together.
or
And
team up.
and it's a lot harder to get tickets now because LeBron's on the West Coast. They only play him once in Chicago a year compared to 2 or 3 times when he was with
Yeah.
Cleveland.
We might have to take the Standing Room Only podcast crew on a road trip to the West Coast and see LeBron play. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe we'll bring a lucky fan. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out of my
Or we
ass right
just go up to Milwaukee and get the cheaper tickets there and see Giannis and LeBron.
now. Oh man, can you imagine that? What should have been the finals this year?
Oh boy, yeah.
Man. Yeah, so I mean, as far as the NBA, I think it's coming to a wrap. Obviously the awards have been announced. Coaches, we'll still get coach signings as these months are upcoming. We have the draft coming up in a couple of technically a month and a half now.
Mm-hmm.
So I know LaMelo Ball has canceled everything moving forward until further notice with the NBA Combine. He canceled all of his interviews. I think it was in the news today or late last night. So it's interesting to see what he's doing there. Still going to be a top pick. But But yeah,
Is
there's, I mean,
do you think that's because he doesn't want to uh ruin his stock? Because he ended off pretty poorly overseas, and his playoff stock is sky high.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how much stock you can lose when you're that young. Like he'll be a sponge for so long to come. Uh, in the NBA, I know he does come from a family of, I don't want to say arrogance, because you can't look at um their father as them. You know what I mean? Like his personality, his attitude towards his kids and what they deserve, quote unquote. Because Lonzo Ball is still a pretty humble dude. I'm sure LaMelo is going to be a pretty, I mean, he's still young, so you would expect him to be a little cocky coming into the league. But I don't know how much stock he's going to actually lose. Maybe that is their plan there, is to, hey, let's keep it under wraps. You're already a top 5 pick. Just keep it on the hush at this point. I don't
Did,
know if it's that, or if it's, I mean, at this point, it's like their private workouts. Don't think COVID is really a situation when it comes to that.
did you hear about Minnesota though?
Mm-mm.
They said, well, one, I think they're thinking about trading back. But two, if they don't, they said they're probably going to take LaMelo number 1.
That wouldn't be a bad pick. That would not be
Over,
a bad.
well, they have Russell, they have Pat. Yeah, wouldn't necessarily be a bad pick. They still have Anthony Edwards there. Maybe they could have had a nice 4 or 5, but they said LaMelo would be like their number 1 choice, which as a Bulls fan, give us Denny. Give us Denny.
Oh yeah, yeah. We'll gladly take him. We'll gladly. I mean, at this point, who anybody that is developable a word? Can I say that on the air? Anybody that can be
Developed.
show, yeah, anybody that can be developed into a player that has a high ceiling. Let's call it a high ceiling. LaMelo Ball obviously is going to be a great player, I think, especially in Minnesota, because D'Angelo Russell can flex between the 1 and the 2. LaMelo Ball probably is going to run the point. He's going to be what we would call new age point guard, like Ben Simmons. He's going to be a taller point guard. Um, we'll see which way they go with that. But I mean, as far as the Bulls go, if they can get, yeah, Denny, let's go with that, and let's just see what they can do. I personally, I can talk about the Bulls all day and what could be and what they should do. But at this point with Billy Donovan, I'll be excited for any of these top guys in the draft, because he's done so well with development of the younger talent. And we saw it with
Mm-hmm.
OKC. So
Yeah. I think Doc Rivers interviewed with the 76ers today. A little interesting on that. I would
mhm.
be Doc Rivers, great coach all the time, develops great teams, playoff performances though. Besides the '08 playoff team with the Celtics, he hasn't done too hot with them. 76ers, maybe he could change it around with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. But until he gets signed, that'll be a topic for another day. Week 3 in the NFL has wrapped up. We are on Wednesday, so tomorrow we get some fresh new games. Starting with, I think it's
Denver and the New York Jets, two
ah
0-3 teams. My excitement is about as exciting as cold weather in winter in Chicago. I am ecstatic. Not really. So tomorrow is obviously a must win for two teams that are probably not even going to come close to making the playoffs. The Jets have had a lot of problems, from injuries to Le'Veon Bell, Jamison Crowder, to Sam Darnold just being horrible, horrible, horrible. And their defense actually has not been as good as they've been in the years past. We thought maybe their defense would give them a chance. Not the case. Denver, on the other hand, they're beat up as well. It's just I might just follow the scoreboard on one of these apps on my phone. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that game. Not excited at all, but we do have. Let's recap last week before we jump into the games coming up this week. Last week was week 3. We had some pretty incredible matchups that we touched base on. How about those Bears, Healy?
Oh, yes. We finally talk about the Bears. I swear I talked about it on the podcast. I at least mentioned it to you in week 1. I told you, but I tried going back in the podcast, briefly finding it. Maybe one of you guys knows the spot. I said Nick Foles I said he would start by week 3. I was pretty close. Halfway through week 3's game, Nick Foles came into it. And he should have had 5 touchdowns. Instead, he only threw 3 touchdowns. He had a pick in there. But Nick Foles, it was like watching a completely different game when he came in.
It was day and night. I was watching gameplay footage. In the same game, there was a pass, and we've seen it every game, and we talk about it. We've been talking about it. This podcast has almost been going on for almost a whole year, and we talked about it last year, how Mitch Trubisky went from this amazing, I'm going to scramble and throw on the run, and I throw darts, and I am showing signs of, being an accurate passer, to all of a sudden he slowly regressed, and we saw it. And I think the Bears, their coaching was just like, all right, we're going to give him, like you said, 2, 3, maybe 4 games before we bring in Nick Foles. Trubisky, and all the footage I was watching and the games we watched, he's either underthrowing receivers or he's overthrowing. He's not accurate at all. Nick Foles threw an interception in the end zone that easily could have been corralled by Allen Robinson. It was a bang play. It's not really anybody's fault. Maybe Robinson should have caught that in the back of the end zone, but that's a touchdown that didn't go their way. And then there was another one that was just simply dropped on 4th down, where we said they should have kicked the field goal, but guess what? It didn't matter. He could have had the potential of 5 touchdowns in less than a half. They brought him in after the first drive in the second half. So I think that going forward, and it's a bummer because they did lose Tariq Cohen. If Tariq Cohen didn't get hurt on that punt return, that fair catch, his numbers would have exploded this year. You have a guy who can throw the ball downfield again, who's hitting his targets. Guess what that does? It always opens up the running back out on wheel routes, out in flat routes. And unfortunately, he is out for the year with a torn ACL. But there's a lot of excitement for Chicago Bears fans. A lot of excitement.
Nick Foles, just going through the reads, I loved his progression. He would drop back, and it seemed like every throw he made, the guy was guaranteed wide open. He even had chances that he had a bunch of risky throws, but they were only risky to the receiver. Like, he threw it in coverage, but he put the ball to where it couldn't cause a turnover. There was one play where he threw it over 3 people. We thought it got intercepted, and instead Jimmy Graham ended up with the football. I think even Jimmy Graham was surprised about that.
Yeah, that was a look what I found type of situation there. That was probably the one throw where we were like, what the hell was that? Because the defender, I don't even know how he didn't get his hands on the ball, any of the 3 defenders that he threw past. So you know what? That's like a gimme right there. That's the football god saying, look, you tossed a good one that got intercepted. We're going to give you one back. So Jimmy Graham looked great in that game. Jimmy Graham might be a must add going forward in fantasy leagues. I mean, he had a good game. I would say he's one of those guys that's like a sure bet to get you 7, 8, 9 points at least every week moving forward now.
Mm-hmm. And David Montgomery, I loved his runs. He had a couple runs, especially at the end of the game where they needed a first down to win. All it took was one run. He was rumbling, bumbling, stumbling for the first down.
Oh yeah, that's the David Montgomery that had came into the NFL when he got drafted, that was the hype. They were like, this guy is stocky, he's hard to bring down, and he brings the turbo. We didn't really see it too much. He showed glimpses of it between a couple of games here and there last year, a couple of handoffs this year. That second half, it was like a whole different ball club we were watching.
Mm-hmm. They're using the running backs a lot better this year, and hopefully it continues. Even without Tariq Cohen, they have been using Cordero Patterson as like a running back type hybrid move, which I think is perfect. I still don't know about Montgomery and his catching skills and his ball carrier skills in that sense, but you can line up Cordero Patterson, who's one of the quickest guys on the team. He knows how to run the football a little bit, and he can go out for easy catches. And maybe like they need to put a linebacker on him because that's who'd normally be on the running back, and he beats them with like a quick route or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's no denying Cordero Patterson's speed. He's done it punt returning, kick returning. They throw him at running back sometimes, and I compared it before. He's almost like what a Ty Montgomery was for the Packers. He came into the league as a receiver who would take an end around handoff here and there too. We're gonna line him up in the I formation now. We're gonna line him up in a two back set. You have Montgomery and whoever else they had at the time, and I think that with David Montgomery, he's gonna get it going. I feel like he showed a lot of signs at the end of that game. We don't know exactly what's gonna happen if he's gonna be the workhorse. Is he gonna take 20 or 25 handoffs? I think he has the potential to do so. Obviously, they have a very, very tough matchup against the Colts. I know a lot of people think, well, it's the Colts. Phillip Rivers is kind of trash, but defensively, that Colts team is not bad. That's actually a really good defensive team right there. So this is going to be a big challenge for Nick Foles and this new rejuvenated offense that Nagy has. So if they can replicate what they did in the second half against Atlanta, then I would say the Bears have a lot better chances of being a playoff team, being a 9-7 or a 10-6 team versus what we said would be a 6-10 team or maybe a 7-9 team. So
Yeah, I'm glad that they're 3-0. They could potentially be 4-0 against the Colts this week. We'll just have to wait and see. Maybe I'll have to watch it at your place again, because both times I've watched it at your place, the Bears have had to come back, and they've made the comebacks both times.
Green Bay has Atlanta, who is very, very hungry for a win, considering they just gave up the last two games, Healy. So I might need the Bears to lose one. So we'll decide on if I have anybody over for the games. I'm just kidding. But yeah. I mean, the Bears, they are a team that's not a 3-0 team, that's 3-0 right now. And you know what? A lot of people say, well, they're garbage, if they're not really a 3-0 team. Guess what? Play the numbers. I would throw money on the Bears going to being a playoff team right now for the simple fact that they started off 3-0. So Chicago has a lot to be excited about. Nick Foles is starting moving forward.
So over under, well, not over under. We could just make this a general question. Do you think Trubisky starts again the remainder of the season?
If not including injuries, you're saying just Nick Foles gets pulled?
Yes.
No, I don't see it. I unless Nick Foles gets hurt. Nick Foles is a pretty good quarterback. I know in Jacksonville he had a rough going. Jacksonville is just not really fit for many guys. Gardner Minshew is like one of a kind over there right now. But I don't see him getting pulled. I don't see them losing games because of Nick Foles, the way they've lost games because of Mitch Trubisky. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think Nick Foles fits the system well. He's the veteran. Matt Nagy knows he's going to play well. The only time I would see like a change happening. Like, you know what Mitch Trubisky gives you? Now we're seeing what Nick Foles gives you with this team. Nick Foles would have to be like throwing 2 to 3 picks a game and having like a 40% completion percentage for like 3 games in a row. Mitch Trubisky got pulled when he was having like a 50%, 50 to 60% completion percentage, and he had like a decent amount of touchdowns to picks. He got pulled for that.
This is true, but also think about there's been at least 2 or 3 grabs where Allen Robinson saved
Saves
him.
him. Yep.
Literally saved him. Saved the game. There's a catch against I believe the Giants where he dove what seemed like 15 yards. He was like MJ and Space Jam diving for the ball with the stretch. He got bailed out. I do agree though, if Nick Foles statistically does not have the numbers and they are losing, I do see that as being enough for them to say, okay, Trubisky, you can come out of timeout now. You've been punished. Come back. And if they do bring him back, they have to do it the right way. They have got Trubisky in the last game had like a 40-yard run. And, I still don't understand for a guy who he doesn't have a lot of speed, but like Big Ben doesn't have a lot of speed, never had a lot of speed, but he had enough speed to be a playmaker, even way back when. And even now he's still running the ball. It's like, I don't understand what the concept is behind that and why they never let him be the quarterback who just takes off sometimes. So they will have to establish a game plan moving forward, and they have to start now. They have to start and say, hey, this is our upcoming matchups. We're going to go through our footage. We're going to do our homework every week like we normally will. Here is your game plan. This is the type of quarterback you are. This is what we noticed is good. This is what we noticed that are bad, things that need to get worked on. Work on those things in practice. Let him know. You never know if you're going to come back in. I mean, you have to have that mindset that you're going to play every game. I mean, that's just it, especially on a team with the Bears where they have a quarterback drama right now. They don't know who is going to be the guy moving forward. Obviously, they want Nick Foles. They're saying he's the starter moving forward. But at any given point, I do feel like after 2 or 3 games, especially starting off 3-0, that's huge. If they were 0-3 right now and they lose maybe the next 3 games with Nick Foles, maybe you keep Nick Foles in there, but you're 3-0 right now. You lose the next 2-3 games, you're still a 500 team. Now we gotta really consider the rest of the schedule and weigh out the pros and cons versus those types of defenses.
Yeah, and Nick Foles looked great. He also went up against one of the worst defenses in the NFL right now.
Yeah,
they are going up against the Colts, who do have one of the better passing defenses in the league right now. So we're going to see a good matchup this week. The Colts.
Yeah. Other games, other matchups. We did see Sunday night, the Packers came out on top against the Saints. It was a bit of a shootout. It was actually a really fun game to watch. And if you have any of those guys in fantasy, it was just a great day. Great day. Of course, as a Packers fan, it was great. Packers moved on to 3-0. We saw the Chiefs, Mahomes come out and dominate against Baltimore. Just straight. He had 4 touchdowns in the first half. They ended up beating them. They controlled the whole game, proving their dominance, that they are still the team to beat in the AFC. Those were 2 of the major games from last week. And I believe that there were some more injuries, if I'm not mistaken. Well, the San Francisco, they have Kittle coming back. So for those who have been banking on the 49ers, I know they just dominated the Giants with a hurt team. They are coming back. Kittle will be back after putting Jordan Reed on the IR, and Garoppolo is questionable, so he might come back as well. There was a few other notable games. Buffalo, last game-winning drive, 15 seconds ago, score a touchdown. Josh Allen is on fire. The Patriots against the Raiders, they dominated. Patriots are super hot right now. They're becoming easily a favorite in the AFC. We did see Detroit beat Arizona by a field goal. Seattle and Dallas ended up being a really fun game to watch. They
Oh
ended up
man.
combining for 69 points. Seattle was out on top early. Dallas's defense is just who we thought they were. Horrible, horrible.
DK Metcalf should have had a touchdown early on in the game.
I want to say rookie mistake, even though he's not a rookie, but he celebrated too soon. Fumbled on the 1 yard line. That would have been his second touchdown for the game. And then we had Cincinnati Bengals and the Eagles. That ended in a
Man.
tie. No field goal attempt.
Yeah, the Eagles had a 64-yard field goal attempt. End of the game. Bengals weren't going to do anything. There was 18 seconds left. And the Eagles played to tie the game. What are you doing?
I see what they're doing. They should. So the problem is if they kick the field goal and miss, the Bengals can run a quick 10-yard out route, right? And then they can attempt the field goal. So I get that. I feel like in a situation, I thought long and hard about this because I was upset about it. Watching, I'm like, how come they're not going for the win? At the end of the season, it's all about that winning percentage. If you get the tie, it's not a loss. Your winning percentage is still technically higher. And especially in that division, I mean, anybody can take that division. It's not like Dallas is on fire and they're undefeated in the season. They already, lost a couple of key games. So I feel like you're better off just taking the tie and just playing it out. They will eventually get Alshon Jeffrey back. They will be, I guess, full strength. I don't see them. I mean, they can still be they're still a contender. Let's put it that way. So you're better off taking the tie versus the loss, especially when it comes to wild card teams. I mean, that could be the difference. Their winning percentage could be higher than a team that has maybe as many wins as them, but the Eagles have one less loss. So
I don't know if you saw this today. The last technically 4 first round number 1 picks in the NFL have tied a game before one.
Interesting. I did not know that.
So Joe Burrow tied right there. Kyler Murray last year, he tied early on in the season. I forgot against what team, but they tied. Maybe it was, I can't remember. And then the year prior, Baker Mayfield and the Browns ended up tying. And then Myles Garrett was the number 1 pick before then. They did not win a game at all his first year. So technically, he won his first game the same time Baker Mayfield did.
Wow, that's incredible, especially with Myles Garrett. They've had so many talented players and so many talented first-round picks, but
just the odds of a tie and the odds of it happening to the number 1 picks before they ever win a game, they tied first.
That's actually one of the craziest stats I've ever heard. Because Joe Burrow he's yet to win a game, and he's actually had a couple of good games so far. I mean, they've relied on him to pass almost 60 times in a game, I believe in week 1 or week 2. So
he's going to be so good when
he'll be good.
They get a team around him.
Yeah, he'll be good for what he's doing right now with that team. I expect a lot from Joe Burrow. We've seen him use his legs too. I think in week 1 he ran one for like 20 yards to the house. So that's a fun fact there. So I believe that's good. That wraps up that week. And then of course we do have some fun games coming up this week as well. We do have Dallas and Cleveland. Cleveland being 2-1, Dallas 1-2. Dallas, I don't want to say it's a must win because their division is still pretty bad. There is.
They can finish 500 just like they did last year.
Yeah. Some undefeated games Monday night. We have Green Bay against the winless Atlanta Falcons. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Again, with Atlanta's defense being so bad, I don't see Green Bay really losing to that team, but you just never know. Atlanta has had their number in years past, recent years past. So the Chiefs and Patriots 3:25 Central Time start. Be on the lookout. Get your popcorn. The Patriots have been playing good football. Cam Newton has been playing better than what everybody expected. So that'll be a fun game to watch. Notable game. The Tennessee Titans are postponed in their game.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I forgot. They are not playing against the Steelers this week due to COVID tests.
so basically, what's going to happen is they don't know what's going to happen. So what the rumor is as of right now is it's either going to be a doubleheader Monday night feature, so you'll have Titans and Steelers, or they might play Tuesday. So it's going to really have a shortened
Oh, they're
week.
trying to play like immediately.
They're trying to play immediately. So I don't understand what the 1 day difference is going to do,
Mhm.
besides give more time for negative tests. I'm assuming they have rules put in place where it's, hey, if you test positive, everybody in the on the team, everybody that played against them, which they didn't postpone Minnesota's game, they must not have had any positive tests, but they're gonna have to test negative. And if you test positive, I'm assuming they're gonna have guys that are just out for that week. So I do expect more negative tests to arise, and I'm sure that's what they're expecting come Sunday, maybe Saturday. But I'm almost positive that they're aiming for a Monday or a Tuesday. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Monday night.
Your Green Bay Packers, they have another primetime game Monday night. But you're
I'm
excited about
excited.
that?
I'm excited. We don't know what's going to happen with Devontae Adams. He's been hurt. Not a serious injury, but they have been keeping him out, which they didn't really need him. They didn't need him against the Saints. And I feel as though the Saints have a little bit better of a defense than Atlanta. It will be a shootout, but again, it all depends on the type of Atlanta team that comes out to play against Green Bay, because in the playoffs a couple of years ago and regular season, Atlanta has played Green Bay extremely, extremely well. The only difference is it's not in the dome, it's in Lambeau Field. Cooler weather is on the rise, especially up in Green Bay. Over under 57.5. Give me the over. Green Bay with 7 points. Give me the spread for Green Bay. I really, really like the way Rodgers has been playing. They have one of the top running backs in the league, Aaron Jones, number 2, I believe, in yardage. He's catching, he's running, he's doing it all right now, and the defense is forcing turnovers when they need it. So I am going Green Bay all the way, over and with the spread. That is a single game parlay that everybody should go with.
Hopefully the spread doesn't end up like the Ravens Chiefs, where it was 54.5 and it ended up being 54 points because the Chiefs just didn't kick the field goal at the end.
And you know what? I'm convinced these players, they know what's going on. The bookies have it in with the players. So, but yeah, that's going to be a fun game. I mean, every other game on the slate, they're not as appealing of matchups. Minnesota and Houston, both teams are 0-3. Both must-win games. You never want to start the season 0-4, especially Minnesota, who has Detroit, who finally got their first win, could get hot. And guess what? Chicago and Green Bay are 3-0. You don't want to start off 0-4. Minnesota, who is, to me, still a contender, and Houston. I mean, Deshaun Watson, Will
Wow.
Fuller, that is going to be a matchup.
Mm-hmm. If you go 0-4, your playoff chances are very slim. Like you might as well start tanking at that point or making trades for guys that might not be coming back next year. Bill
Oh, yeah, at
O'Brien,
that point.
when's Dan Quinn going to get fired? When's Bill O'Brien finally going to get released from his GM job and coaching job? We'll have to wait and see on that.
Dan Quinn should have been fired after the Super Bowl.
Oh man, 99.9% against the Cowboys and then 99.6 against the Bears. That was their winning percentage at a certain point in the game.
Yeah, that was Uh, they don't get me wrong, the Bears played a great second half, but I just don't. You have Todd Gurley, and I know he's had knee problems, but you got to run him 30, 35 times in a game that you're leading by multiple scores.
I wanted to make a point on that. This is the second time the Bears have been down, and the teams that they're playing against keep passing the football.
They're passing on first down. Like, I get it. You want these little short passes to keep the play going. Guess what? Especially when you're playing Chicago, Akeem Hicks doesn't get full. He's always hungry. Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn. This Bears defense is looking for you to pass the ball because they want to eat up your quarterback. Run the ball. You don't need to advance. You can average 2 yards a carry in the second half for all I care. Waste the clock, time management. I think a lot of these teams are forgetting. A lot of these teams like Atlanta have forgot. And, even against Dallas, they should have beaten Dallas. They should not have let them come back. So at some point, Dan Quinn has to either get fired or tell his team like, hey, we're going to play smart today, but I don't see that in their future. So
I think that's it, though, for everything we wanted to talk about today.
yes, be on the lookout. I have a FanDuel lineup reserved. Again, I do make adjustments. We've been talking about having a FanDuel sit down talk Fridays or Saturdays, talk lineups, talk shop. That's in the near future, I believe, that myself and Healy have been discussing. But in the meantime, be on the lookout, Twitter and Instagram for another lineup. My lineup was hot, except for a couple of guys that just underperformed. Jonathan Taylor he ended up having an okay game, but for somebody that scored a touchdown early, didn't really do too much in the second half. So be on the lookout. I will post my lineup. I want to see your lineups. I want to see what you guys do. If you guys take my lineup and you win $1 million, let me know so I can claim 10% commission, and then we can go from there.
And make sure to follow the podcast, SR Only Pod, Twitter and Instagram. And then you can follow our personal pages, myself at the Healy6.
And I am iGoose with 4 O's, Instagram, Twitter. Say what's up. Send me a follow, add me, like a couple pictures. I would appreciate that. And let's talk sports. I love to talk sports. Clearly, we sit here and ramble all day. I want to talk more sports with you guys. Tell us what you think on the episode. We will, of course, generally put polls out. I want to see what everybody votes. And if there's something you guys don't like or have to argue against us, let us know. We love to talk sports. So again, that's going to wrap up the episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit that download button, and we will see you next week.